momentary giggles between us. There are very few people who are truly indelible, who so positively and effortlessly leave a mark, whose vibrancy never curtailed no matter the circumstances. Now Molloy, Angela was one of those rare people. She had this wonderful ability to change the atmosphere just by being in the room. Her sharp, witty commentary, warm laughter, and her unmistakable smile created an energy that was just infectious and drew everybody in. This was one of many, many lovely messages sent to us all, for which we're so grateful. Specifically, this was sent by cousin Damien, who's also sat here today. Thank you. We couldn't put it better ourselves. See, the thing is, when I was reflecting on this, Nanny isn't just my nanny. She was everyone's nanny. The way that she connected us all, cared for us all, loved for us all, it seems like everyone she ever got a dose of Nanny Molloy magic. And that magic is going to live on forever in all of us. Simply to have met Nanny, let alone to have known Nanny, was to love her. And that love can never truly die. There are a few people who couldn't come today, several people who will send their love. There are too many to mention all individually, but I would like to specifically acknowledge two who have become ingrained in our family folklore. They are Mrs. Green and the old woman of the room. They both sent their apologies, and they will bear lie in our hearts. There's about 10 minutes here, but we're running early, so it's okay. Nanny was born Angela Risha Molloy in 1934. Precisely, as Sam said, 91 years and 2 days ago. One of 8 children born into quite poor circumstances, into a family epitomised by endurance. Of the 8 siblings, Nanny was the first to marry, and quite remarkably at the time, moved to England in 1956. And when you look back, this really was an extremely brave and independent thing to do. It can't have been easy. England was not a particularly welcoming place for the Irish at that time. Nanny lost her husband, our stoic and principled granddad Jim Molloy, tragically young in July 1989, and July has been a hard month for the family ever since. Amidst all of that pain and grief, our mum, discovered that she was pregnant at the time, and Nanny would often reflect on this glimmer of hope as getting her through the hardest of times. And so it was that Nanny ultimately dedicated herself to all 4 of us. From famously wanting to throw myself in the bin, Nanny took another brave and bold decision to relocate here to Gillingham in her 60s, all in service of us 4. Despite living in Norfolk for the last third of her life, Nanny was arguably better connected to everything going on back home in Ireland than any of her other siblings who actually lived there. Nanny never fell out once with them. In fact, quite the opposite. She was the glue that bound them together, fondly referred to back home as Radio Norfolk. Family would choose to get updates because Nanny knew everyone and everything going on in her own family. In her own masterful way, she conducted the orchestra. Consequently, despite being raised here, me and my siblings all feel fiercely and proudly connected to Ireland because of them. If I try to describe my family to others, I will often say that within 5 minutes at dinner, we can quite literally have the 4 seasons of emotions on display. We can switch seamlessly from blind anger to sobbing with sorrow, intense debate, and a liberal sprinkling of infectious laughter, all within 5 minutes. Much of that stems from Mum, and that stems from Nanny Molloy. The Nanny we all knew was never inhibited by actually only having one working eye. In fact, one eye it was. It always had a glint in it. It was an eye for people, it was an eye for detail, and indeed it was an eye for a memorable phrase, or 500. Much of Nanny's wisdom was given in those phrases that she would repeat to us. love for Nanny. Number one, must do is a good master. I don't think anyone has ever embodied this more than her. Number two, know when to throw the rope right and when to put it back in again. Manage your energy, manage your money, manage your life. Walk tall. Confidence in how you presented yourself is key to Nanny. Right, I'll see you later. Or being well. Somewhat hilariously, Nanny was always aware of her own mortality, which meant that she lived life to the fullest. That's just fantastic. Nanny espoused endless spirit of positivity. Fake the good fate, self-explanatory. Every day you go out with a school bag on your back. Nanny kept us grounded, curious, and open to new ideas every single day. I just took a wee notion. Don't ask me where I'm going, ask me when I get back. Those last 2 days is highlighting how impulsive Nanny was and how spontaneous she would be till the day she died. And there's a lesson there for all of us. Famously, she'd walk down to the bus stop and she'd just get the first bus that came regardless of where it's going. Nanny was a proud woman. Now, some of you may also know a story, lots of good stories revolve around buses and bus stops actually. You may know a story of Nanny calling up angry buses to complain that her bus had not turned up and saying it was unacceptable because she was now going to miss an extremely important appointment. And we don't know exactly how that conversation went, but what we do know is that the bus company spoke to a highly persuasive, elderly Irish woman who was going to miss an appointment, and it sounded like it could have been life or death. In an act I'm pretty sure has never happened before and never happened since. A replacement bus was sent out ASAP. More than that, the bus company sent a direct, non-stop service to Southwold for one solo passenger, obviously Angela Molloy. The driver made it their duty to make sure that Nanny got there on time to what they believed to be a very important medical appointment. I can tell you all now this appointment was at the hairdresser's. But Nanny was proud. Proud of the fact that she could cut a tomato into 14 slices. She was house proud, proud of her heritage, proud of her family, and proud of her appearance. Even in Nanny's toughest days and hardest hours, Nanny looked immaculate. Indeed, in recent weeks before coming home, despite having been in hospital for over a month, Nanny was officially voted by the nurses in the James Paget in her ward to be the nicest, best dressed, and best smelling patient. This is, of course, largely down to Nanny's doting and devoted daughter. Jennifer, Mum, we are all so very proud of you. Nanny was never prouder of the 4 of us grandchildren than when we were working together as a team. I'm sure she saw some of her own childhood in our relationships. Strong, fierce, loyal, loving, Nanny would take enormous pride in seeing the 4 of us pull together. Often that would be, because we were younger, picking apples from the tree and selling them on the side of the road in bags for an extortion of 50 pence. Nanny was clever. Despite having never had a great deal of formal education, Nanny was one of the most perceptive people you could meet. And over the years, my mum and all of us have learned to pay close attention to that intuition and sense of justice. Nanny was curious. Nothing would make her happier than pootling around the supermarket and buying the new thing like a lover of a good deal and a car boot sale. Nanny developed a somewhat inexplicable lust for collecting pens. So upon seeing yet another bundle of second-hand pens in her house that she bought for the bargain price of £1, I remember asking her, why do you love these pens so much? And she just said, I just love pens. Sure, if you bought a chocolate bar for a pint, you'd be sad because you eat it. As you're getting here, Nanny was funny. She was up for it She was up for fun, she was up for a laugh, to bring joy and happiness. Nanny was up for life. And famously on one of her adventures out in Las Vegas with her siblings, Nanny was offered some cannabis. She simply replied, "No thank you, I'm only here for the crack." While I'm amusement goes around. So, in the spirit of recognising Nanny's humour, I thought it would be impossible to miss out a short list of Nanny Molloyisms that I also compiled over the years. This is a short snippet. Some of them might not be typical for a church, but we're all friends here. The 2020 pandemic was Corvus, or alternatively, the coronavirus. After all, we all know that an elephant can't change its spots. And you see all those arguments we had? That's wonderful for the rich, right? And then watch on TV. That Britain's Got Talent is so manipulated. And again on TV. I watched that film. 12 Hours a Slave. Recently, she said, "It's important to watch the news and see what that Donald Trump is up to." And finally, one of my favourite of Nanny's indiscretions was this. While she was reading a list of healthy foods, she said, "Beef apparently boosts your sex drive. Well, I'd better eat a cow." Oops, that's it. But Nanny wore that heart on her sleeve and didn't often have a filter, which was all to our benefit. So when you walked into Nanny's house, you would hear blaring Irish music, Foster and Allen or Danny O'Donnell. You'd enter, and invariably she'd say one of two phrases. Usually it was, "You're not living well." Sometimes that would be followed with, "You're looking awful tired," or on occasion, "You look like you've just come out of the rag bag." Sometimes if you were lucky, it would be, "You're looking well." It tended to be said in such a surprised tone that it was apparently unfathomable that any of us siblings or indeed our partners could look well. But this was part of Nanny's pure unadulterated love. And as we were leaving the house, it would usually follow with, "Here's something for the journey." That would be ice creams, chocolates, crisps, for an extremely arduous 60-second journey back home. From a personal note, I'm not quite sure why, but some of my deepest core memories of Nanny are of her caring for me when I was unwell. Nanny was the first person to bring me Lucozade that I know, and cold flannels when I was fevering, and she bought me a fan to keep me cool from Woolworths in Beccles that I kept for 20 years and had on next to me every night. And I think a reflection, I suppose Nanny made me feel safe, made me feel loved, and made me feel seen. She always bolstered your confidence and helped you always believe in yourself. A clear memory I have, I must have been 9 or 10, and I had properly agonising stomach pains. I was at school, so much so that I had to phone home and ask to be picked up. I don't actually know how I got home, because it couldn't have been Nanny to pick me up, because she didn't have a driving licence. She famously failed a driving test after taking too much Valium for her nerves. But when I was home, curled up, feeling sorry for myself on the sofa, quick as a flash, Nanny presented me with one of her favourite hot whiskies, and after a few minutes, I let out what can only be described as a Titanic foghorn of a fart. With that, everything felt better, and in true Nanny style, she soon had me eating the potatoes for dinner. Nanny was made of strong stuff. Nanny was resolute. Nanny was tough. Nanny was resilient. Nanny was strong. And 4 of us having carried her in here, she did not lose any strength. We were surprised at the rate of Nanny. She had a strong body until the very end. A strong accent that we all adored and were envious of. And lest we forget, she was strong-willed, truly an inspiration to us all. Of course, a strong-willed mother raises a strong-willed daughter. that mother-daughter bond was unbreakable. And I know it meant everything to Mum that in Nanny's final days, Nanny said to her, "Jennifer, I know you love me because you're doing everything for me." So now it's time to say goodbye. And it physically hurts when I talk of Nanny in the past tense. But Nanny has not gone. Nanny is not gone. Nanny is with us always. To us all, Angela now simply becomes Angel A. She will live on in spirit and most certainly in name, as both my sister Siobhan and our own daughter Ione have Angela as a middle name. Nanny was our matriarch. She was our centre of gravity and our heart. Nanny saw different magical things in all of us, and perhaps the hardest part of today is that we are all having to say goodbye to a version of ourselves who knew and was known by Nanny. A version that saw and was seen by Nanny, and a version that was loved and was loved by Nanny. She had this incredible knack of making us feel simultaneously safe, warm and homely, as well as encouraging us to fly and fulfill our dreams. Angela Molloy was everyone's Nanny. We love her because she's everything to us. Until her dying day, Nanny was a force of nature, and there will only ever be one Angela Molloy. Goodbye.